Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. I'm Kevin Kietzman, your humble host, in on a soggy Thursday. Ooh, boy, did we get some rain overnight last night. Hope you guys are all doing okay. You probably have some cleanup. I got a lot to do in my yard when it dries out, I've seen, but we have no real damage. It's mostly just cleanup. So I'm suspecting that's where most people are on this, and we think that's a good thing. I heard the battalion chief earlier say 23 rescues in Kansas City, Missouri from cars, people trying to drive through the water, things like that. But it sounds like at this point, nobody's been seriously injured or died from all this, and it could have been disastrous. There are places around town with over 10 inches of rain. I think we got a little over 8 at my house. I run with a circle of friends that I'm on a text thread with a bunch of guys that play golf, and the pictures are coming in from golf courses all over Kansas City that are just flooded out and just a mess. Greens underwater. Branches rolling down the creeks because all the golf courses are set on bodies of water in some fashion or another. That's how they keep them green. And they're a mess. So we will not feel sorry for the golfers in Kansas City. That's not really a class of folks that a lot of people are going to have any tears over. But if it's affected you and your house is wet, if you've got flooding, we wish you the very best to find a proper way to get out of that and get it right. So we're going to focus on some other things today, knowing that it's going to clear, and it sounds like we're out of the woods on most of this around Kansas City with those heavy rains. A little bit later, there's something out there called the Great Trucking Recession. Has anybody heard about this? The trucking industry is dying? Companies are filing for Chapter 11, the Great Trucking. This can't be possible. There's no way. There's more trucks on the road today than ever. We'll dive into exactly what that is. Also, a lawsuit in Jackson County this week of a man who alleges he went to the dentist and they dropped an instrument down his throat. Yeah, we're going there. This is a lawsuit. I suspect he will win if this is all true. And we'll have some fun with Mark toward the end, why Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge were not home run hitters in the swing-off 2 nights ago. And Bobby Witt, for that reason, Bobby Witt gave the answer of why he wasn't in it. And we'll share that with you. We start today with PBS and NPR being defunded by the Senate at 2:30 in the morning overnight while we had storms here. Now it goes on to the House of Representatives where they've got until Friday to pass this, and PBS and NPR and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting are officially defunded to a tune of $1.1 billion. Sorry, Corporation for Public Broadcasting. As you've heard me say on this show, and I've said on my podcast from the start, and as I've said to coworkers for 40 years now, this has been the biggest waste of government money ever. The government has no business creating programming on public airwaves that one political party controls with your tax dollars. They don't. So this is my dream come true. Of every government cut, there are obviously bigger ones, more important ones, more savings. There are bigger fish to fry than this. This is my issue. I've been competing against public broadcasting my entire career. I've never worked for public broadcasting. I used to get asked from time to come host the telethon and whatnot. I went down and answered phones one time. I learned more about the operation. I was very young. I did it because my bosses wanted me to do it at Channel 4. And so I went and did it, and I felt dirty. Like I'm begging for money for a TV station that nobody watches, that's funded by my tax dollars and the federal government. It made me sick. I drove away nauseous. I'm like, ugh, how dirty and disgusting am I? No more. And I would openly have debates with my liberal friends in the media and say this is the biggest joke going, and they're cooked. Catherine Maher is the CEO of NPR. She gave a quote on getting defunded because they don't know what they're going to do. Her quote is, quote, 3 out of 4 Americans rely on public radio, unquote. Well, that's a lie. What she should have said, if she wanted to be accurate, is 3 out of 4 Americans can get public radio. That means they have a radio within earshot of a signal, and 75% of the country can get the programming. So she's lying. That's the main story, is she's lying. But let's just reverse this for a second and take her at face value and say, you're telling the truth. So if I had Catherine Maurer on this show right now, I'd be, Catherine, 3 out of 4 Americans rely on NPR every week. Why the hell do you need government money? You have the most powerful, influential, and popular media operation in America. That's better than Twitter. Twitter has like 31% of Americans or something. I mean, like 28% of Americans. You've got 75% of Americans listening to NPR. You don't need government funding. You should be doing $100 billion a year in advertising. Everybody would want to advertise on something that has 75% of Americans every week. These people are liars and they are frauds. And when they lie and don't get called out on it, and people just accept that 3 out of 4 Americans listen to public radio, which is a joke. When you just accept that on face value because they lie and get away with it, the interesting part about liberals is you can ask the question or turn it around on what their whopper is and prove that it's a lie. And that's an easy one to prove. If you had 3 out of 4 people in this country, you wouldn't care about government funding. Your 1.1 billion, well, you don't get that much. You probably get 400 million. Whatever your number is, you don't need it. You don't need it because you're so popular. And the Kansas City Star is on board. They're writing op-eds on this, and they're all mad that these media companies are caving to Donald Trump in his lawsuits because they have done terrible things to Donald Trump. He is suing them like he did CBS News on election interference for editing the Kamala Harris interview. They settled for, I think, last week, $16 million. And of course, Melinda Hellenberger at the Kansas City Star is completely out of her mind that all these weak media people are caving to Donald Trump. They've lost their mind over. This is the coolest thing ever, by the way. He's winning every lawsuit against the media. And putting the money aside, I promise you, the fake news wing of the Donald J. Trump Library and Museum is going to be fantastic. It's going to have a big plaque out front and something that you read that explains how ABC and CBS and CNN all funded this wing through lawsuit settlements because they were perpetrators of fake news. It will be forever memorialized in a museum that they're paying for. You watch. It's going to be one of the greatest post-Trump presidency things he does. The fake news wing of his library is going to be awesome, and they're paying for it. Melinda Hellenberger writes and co-authors with another gentleman at the Star an op-ed opinion piece that you cannot make up this headline. This is literally the Star's take on defunding PBS and NPR and media outlets caving to Donald Trump with lawsuits. This is the headline. I'm not making this up. Quote, is losing the next Downton Abbey worth it? With a question mark. Downton Abbey was a show on PBS from 2010 to 2015. It had 52 total episodes. It is their church. We talk about liberals not being religious or of faith. This is their altar. They worship at the altar of Downton Abbey, which is British, which is what they want to be. Liberals really want America to be like Europe. That ultimately is their goal. We want America to be Europe again. And so they love Downton Abbey, and they're asking, this is just preposterous. Is it worth sacrificing $1.1 billion of taxpayer dollars to not get the next Downton Abbey? Their argument is there's another great show coming on PBS. We don't know what it is, but we're cutting the funding. We're not going to get that show. Really? Why can't that show be on some dinky little outfit called Netflix or Amazon or Apple or Paramount Plus or any of them? There is no lack of shows, folks. There's so many shows, we have mostly bad shows. I think the great show out there is called Landman. It has Billy Bob Thornton in it, and it's on Paramount Plus. And right now, Landman is filming at a casino in Durant, Oklahoma, with a couple of characters that play mother and daughter, like a 50-year-old, no, about a 40-year-old and a 19-year-old daughter. And they're running around tearing up Durant, Oklahoma, filming a series that's going to come back in November that's going to get whopping ratings. And guess what? Your federal tax dollars aren't paying for any of it. The state of Oklahoma may have some filming incentives for the show to be filmed there, but everybody gets that. These people have lost their minds. They really think the government should ding Downton Abbey and PBS NewsHour and All Things Considered on NPR radio. They're crazy. Your government has no business doing that. I'm going to guess most people listening right now never saw Downton Abbey, don't listen to All Things Considered, and have never watched PBS NewsHour. But your money went to it and helped produce it. And one party commandeered all of the programming, all of it. There were only two ways out of this. For 40 years, I've argued there's two ways out. You either take the money away and let it survive on its own as it is, and let the same people run it. Catherine Maher can stay, and if they want it to be liberal, great, but survive on your own, which doesn't really happen. Almost all talk radio is conservative in America. So it seems to me that NPR will fail financially once the money is pulled. Or B, you regulate with the federal government that all programming is 50-50. You go every other hour. We do 1 hour of All Things Considered, then maybe back in the day, 1 hour of the Rush Limbaugh show. Be great. Put it on all those stations. Let's go, whatever it may be. That's the only way out here. This was never fair. It was never right. These things are being exposed, and this is a bad one. And it's really good for us. Here's why. If you like payback, if it's not just about saving the money, because this is only $1.1 billion. If you're like me, and I'm a human being, which means I have real problems. I named my podcast, Kevin Kietzman Has Issues. I don't like to talk about my issues because sometimes I feel dirty and guilty about them. This one I got no problem talking about, right? I feel a little dirty and a little guilty, but I'll say it publicly. It feels wonderful that this chaps their ass. This is the one that's bothering them more than anything. You're taking away Downton Abbey. What about Elmo? We got to keep Sesame Street out here and teach kids about gender euphoria or dysphoria. We got to teach this stuff to these kids. You're taking that away from us. We need All Things Considered to be on radio, where all these people in all these places get this programming free. We need your tax dollars to take over the government. Oh my God, this is killing them. Trust me, you want to hurt a liberal? Take away PBS and NPR funding. It can happen this week. The House has to come through. They have until Friday to get it done. Of course, Trump will sign this. It saves a total of $9 billion, which isn't a lot, but I'll take it. Every little bit counts. The $1.1 billion from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting will set their hair on fire. This is the win that you love. You want to piss off a liberal, look them in the eye and say, we got it. We took away your NPR and your PBS. Over. 913-408-7957 is the number to call. Love to hear from you on that topic. Do you watch the programming? Will you miss any of it? What do you think of it being defunded? Or any other topic on your mind? We always just have open lines here. If you come in with something good, you got a chance to be on the show. 913-408-7957. This is Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
You're listening to Kevin Kietzman Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
All right, we're talking about the defunding of NPR and PBS. Melinda Hellenberger's op-ed in the Star. She has a new term that I've never heard before. She considers herself a farm worker for democracy. She writes, "We cannot be too surprised that so many American media owners, as opposed to those of us who see ourselves as farm workers for democracy, are now competing to see who can debase themselves most completely in selling out to Donald Trump." Unbelievable stuff that they're doing on the left about this defunding. This is Jeff in Shawnee on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, Jeff. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. Hey, I will not shed a tear for NPR. I left the Kansas City Star during the Obama administration because I saw what one-sided they were. NPR, I listen to it every once in a while, and it's 99% anti-Trump. Remember, one of those people for NPR was at the Senate congressional hearing, and they said, you got 100% Democrats working there. You don't have any Republicans working there. She's like, oh, I didn't know that. It's like, yeah, you knew that. You knew that, man. But no, I will not shed a tear for this. It's been a long time running. I never understood it to begin with, and if it wasn't so one-sided, I'd probably have a little bit different to say about it. But it's all one-sided, like Kansas City Star. So, yeah, I'm happy.
That's awesome. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the call as always. Yeah, I actually think that if these newspapers are all claiming poor, like they're going under, and they just keep cutting staff, and they have very small offices, and they don't print papers anymore. They're not what they once were. They're websites. I just think it would be pretty easy within a year's time to go into the Kansas City Star if you had different leadership and probably double their business. I don't think that would be hard. What if they just did straight news, fair straight news all across the board, and had an op-ed section? They did all kinds of opinion and had people just equally from both sides writing columns and things like that, and didn't just slant every story of everything all day in one direction. Because their claim on the left about this defunding, what's really the problem, what they're really whining about is that local media have been chopped down, that there's not as much local media. Well, there's actually more local media than there's ever been because we have citizen journalists now that are just on social media reporting stories, posting videos at crime scenes. It's being done on behalf of the media outlets. And the reason there's less local media is it all went left, and they're all just competing for one tiny slice of the pie. And they're leaving probably 2/3 of the audience in Kansas City as a metro area. They're leaving them out in the cold because even some Democrats don't like it. And certainly people in the middle don't like it. And we know whatever percentage of people in this metro area consider themselves Republicans, whatever percentage that is, they're not reading any of that stuff. Some of the older folks still take it out of habit, but I don't understand it. I just think it looks to me like it would be fairly easy to fix. Like, I don't know what CNN's doing right now with their ratings. I don't think they've improved, but they've got a hit with Scott Jennings on there. He's become the most watched and reposted social media star that CNN has because he's basically the conservative on there up against 5 of them that are wrong. And then he says something that's right, and they all have these just giant bug eyes like you used to see in the old cartoons back in the day where their eyeballs would spin and their eyeballs are just spinning, looking at him like they'd never heard that before. And everybody watching is like, yeah, that makes sense, what he's saying. If you just evened it out, I think you'd get more customers, but it doesn't seem to be something they want to do. All right, I mentioned at the top of something that is called the Great Trucking Recession. And I heard this topic, and the first thing I think of when I see something in media, I assume that if a term has come up that you've never heard before, it's coming from the left. Why would the left be doing a bunch of stories on a trucking recession in America? This doesn't seem possible. There are more trucks on the road today than ever. Everything is delivered to your house. The trucking industry has gone bonkers in this country, and literally our interstate highway system is not good enough anymore because there's too many places like I-70 from Kansas City to St. Louis where I-70 is too narrow for all these trucks to be lined up next to each other. And they're going to be spending a lot of money on a lot of parts of I-70, and we need to do it because of the trucking. So I'm like, what in the world, what are the media implying here? Well, they want to use the word recession anywhere they can. Donald Trump's president now, and the R word is gold for them, and they want it in their headline. They're calling the Great Trucking Recession. Dolce Truckload, Elite Carriers, Daniel Trucking, and Asa Transport all this month have declared bankruptcy and filed Chapter 11. There are 4 more big trucking companies around the country that are trying to reorganize their debt before declaring Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Folks, this isn't lack of trucking. This is competition. Too many people got in the game and didn't know what the hell they were doing. This is a good sign for America. That means there are better trucking companies for a lower price delivering on time and safely, and these people aren't doing the job well enough. This is the epitome of the American way, exceptionalism and capitalism. Companies going out of business is a fact of life in the United States. It is not a trucking recession. We don't have more trucks out there. The economy is doing just fine. Uncanceled continues on KCMO. What would you do if you went to the dentist and they dropped a file down your throat? That's next.
Whether you're a Jayhawk, Wildcat, Tiger, or KC Roo, we won't cancel you. Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled, on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM.
All right, so I run the risk of a couple of you knowing this story already because I think it was a couple of days ago, and I don't hear everything Pete does, and he may have mentioned it here. You may have read it somewhere else. But we've got a very interesting lawsuit that's been filed in Jackson County over an incident that allegedly occurred at a dental office in Independence. And I don't know why, but every now and then a story comes up that leads me to a place where I'm just going to ask a question of you here at the end, and you get to answer it for yourself. You can call me and give me your answer if you want, but I'm going to ask a question at the end. And it's all I could think of was asking this question. A gentleman named John Boussard alleges in his lawsuit that he visited Dental Arts of Independence for a root canal. And while working on his root canal, he alleges that Dr. Jeremy Bowen drilled a hole, and then either he or a staff member dropped a metal root canal file down his throat. At this point, the remedy from Dr. Bowen was to take the patient, Boussard, into Dr. Bowen's private bathroom at the dental office and try to induce vomiting. That didn't work. Nothing worked. The gentleman alleges in the lawsuit that he had to go to the hospital and have surgery performed to remove the file from maybe even beyond his throat. I don't know. Boy, that sounds really dangerous. I don't know what a metal root canal file looks like, but the word file's got my attention. So usually they start filing them. I don't even want to think about it. I got to think, well, of course the dentists have insurance for things just like this. It alleges that they did not put a proper piece of equipment in the mouth that prevents this sort of thing. Apparently when you're doing the root canal, there's something that you insert that closes part of the esophagus or something. You can still breathe, but it keeps something from going down. Do you know what that is?
They have like a dam so that you don't have like saliva going down your throat and stuff.
Okay. So have you had this done, or you just know you've had it done?
I've had a couple root canals.
How uncomfortable is it?
The first time it's not very comfortable. The second time I just try to fall asleep.
Okay. So, but you could feel like a dam in your throat.
It's just in your mouth.
Okay, but you can sort of tell it's something that's going to prevent something from going down your throat. All right, so you're breathing through your nose. You can't really breathe through your mouth, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. That's the worst part about being the dentist is the suffocating part. You think, okay, what if my nose gets all clogged? What if I sneeze right now?
I know.
It's one of those things.
I was a little nervous about
like,
that.
What do we got here? So if this happened, if this is all true, and we don't have any reason to believe that it didn't because they've brought forth a lawsuit and entered it, he's going to win some money, clearly. And I don't know what that number would be, but I've seen a lot of ridiculous things. Like Todd Haley, the former Chiefs coach. Did you know his wife won a lawsuit one time for a dirty salad at a McDonald's? It was a lot, too. I want to say it was over $1 million.
That's crazy.
I think there was a dead baby mouse in it. And they found out that they were mice that live in the roof or the ceiling tiles. And one of them had fallen off while they were prepping all the salads, and they didn't see it. And she won a lawsuit. People win all. You've heard the hot coffee lawsuits and all these different things. This sounds like it should be worth a lot to me. I don't know if it's a settlement, whether it ever goes to trial or whatever. So here's your question. Because Boussard's fine. He went through a lot. He's fine now. Let's say this is worth $3 million. You letting somebody drop that file down your throat? Would you go through that experience for $3 million? If you knew you weren't going to die, would you do it? Don't you think most people would say yes?
I would. If I know I'm getting $3 million on the other end, oh yeah.
Done dealio. Well, you've had the root canal done. See, I haven't had that, so I'm scared. I'm terrified of this. There are people that won't go to the dentist, that period just won't go, even for like a checkup, because they hate it so much. So I think that becomes a very interesting question. It just depends on the person. I think there's a whole bunch of people out there say, nope, I'll live my life the way it is. I don't need the money. I do not want to go to the dentist. I'm terrified of it. Dentists fight that all the time. I was at an event last week where Jessica and I were the only couple that weren't dentists. It was one of the weirdest nights of my life. It was great. I don't mean weird in a bad way, but, it sort of split up the guys and the gals, right, at this one dentist house. And all they were telling was dental stories. I learned a lot about the industry. A lot. about the industry.
Did you bring up this story, or was this before?
No,
that
it was
happened?
before. I
Okay.
didn't know the story. They didn't know it. They didn't say anything about it. I think that
Yeah.
would have been all we'd have talked about.
Yeah, probably.
But there was a lot of talk about who the crappiest dentists are in the town in Kansas City, who the goats are. A couple of these dentists were younger, like this guy's really good. I want to be as good as him someday, and all this different stuff. It was really, really, really wild. And apparently dental offices, just like every other office that anybody's ever worked at, there's a lot going on at the dental offices. There's a lot of dentists out there doing some night putting, after they're done working. It's all good. They're putting in the extra time. So I just found it fascinating. And now this story comes out about this thing. It was I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what my number would be. How much I would need for somebody to lose a file down my throat. And it doesn't say it specifically, but maybe into the stomach. I mean, how do you get it out of the throat? The surgical procedure from a doctor, you cutting the throat open? It must have gotten to the stomach safely somehow, and they're going through I don't know. I got more questions than answers, which is, of course, the case when you hear stories like this. But wow, if they failed to put something in during the procedure to prevent this from happening, that's the real liability. That's got to be just a huge, huge problem. All right, Alan's in Kansas City. He says he hates the dentist. What's up, Alan? How are you?
No, there's no amount of money. I won't go. I will not go. And what's funny is we had to use a different name because my wife would know exactly who this is calling. I've been to the dentist like once in 30 years, and it was to repair a broken tooth after a car accident, and that's it. No amount of money. I wouldn't do it for $10 million. No way.
Wow. Okay, what would it cost for me to get you to go just do a regular checkup?
It's not gonna happen. I literally, if I hear that drill noise, it makes me, no, I cannot do it. So needless to say, I take really good care of my teeth, but yeah, there's no way I'm going to the dentist.
And how old are you, sir? If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
56.
Okay, you're going to have to go to the dentist someday.
I don't think so.
Well,
I
God
don't
willing,
eat sugary foods and pops, and I floss like twice a day. I don't think so.
Wouldn't you like to live to be 100?
I think I'm there. My teeth are like really good shape.
Yeah, but you're only halfway home, brother.
Oh man, I don't know. They're gonna have to so this is the same thing. My oldest daughter is the same way. She has to be sedated.
Okay, well,
I'd have to be put under and not knowing what's going on.
They've got that.
Kind of like the Seinfeld episode where the guy's sedated and has no idea what they're doing.
Exactly.
I'd have to be that out of it.
Wasn't Horrible Bosses? Wasn't there a scene? Wasn't Jennifer Aniston a dentist in that or something? Or the other guy was the dentist and she was in the dental chair. Do you remember that one?
I think I could be talked into staying awake for that.
Yeah. We found your price. Not $10 million.
Okay, I guess you did.
But Jennifer Aniston, you'll let her lose the file down your throat.
And 7 figures, yeah.
And 7 figures. Okay, good enough. Excellent call, sir. You've made my day. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
That's outstanding. I mean, there are people who just won't go. I get it. I don't know what the price would be. And this poor guy, this John Bassard, good for him if he's going to get some legal action and maybe something will come of it. That's probably a reasonable solution to something like this. All right, here's our buddy Mark in Shawnee. Good morning, Mark. What's up?
Good morning, Kevin. I got a story for you. I almost hate to say it because some people say, hey, I heard you. A lot of people don't know this, but when I was a kid, I tried to jump to a swing set, and a swing set that you'd sit on and swing, somebody push it. I missed, and it knocked my 2 front teeth out. So I went screaming home. They went and found my teeth, found the dentist. He sewed my front teeth back in my mouth when I was a little kid. And as I got older, they put braces on, tried to move my teeth around. The dentist goes, we can't move these front teeth. They're embedded in there so strong. We're going to have to pull them. And I said, oh, no, we're not. I was a senior in high school. My dad said, we're going to get them teeth pulled so we can make sure your teeth are right. Long and short of it is, I went in and my dad said, we're not going to give you. I said, Dad, I want to be knocked out for this. This is going to be bad. He said, nope, we're not going to do that. That's expensive, and I'm not taking no risk. So they went in and pulled my teeth with the old style way, my front teeth, and your roots go all the way up into your into your top of your gums. They stuck needles down in my up in the bridge of my mouth,
Ugh.
but outside under your gum in the front part. I mean, everywhere you can imagine. And then he started pulling, and the cracking and popping. I still hear it to this day, and it wouldn't come out. He put his foot up on the. He put his foot on the chair and was breathless pulling this thing out, going, "Ah!" I'm yelling and screaming. I mean, it hurts so bad. He says, "That hurts?" I said, "Yeah." It's more needles, more numbing. Back to the foot on the thing and pull my teeth out.
Mark, you're the best, buddy. I love your story, and I believe half of it.
No, I swear to God, that's a true story. That happened. I don't have any front.
Your dentist did not put his foot up on the chair for leverage to pull your tooth out.
God, he did. I swear to God, he did. I'm not a liar. He put his foot on the chair and started pulling.
I believe him.
Said, oh my gosh! My hands were holding. I worked out, and I had my hands on the side of the thing, and I was hanging on. And I was thinking, "Oh, I can't believe this is happening." I told my dad to knock me out. I tell you, my dad and I had problems after that.
Oh, good stuff, buddy.
Livid.
That is a great call. Thank you very much, Mark.
True story. Every bit of it is a true story.
All right, I'm going to up it to 60%. That I believe 60% of it. I'm going to stick with that one. That was great stuff. Brandon's in Kansas City. Good morning, Brandon. What's going on in your world, buddy?
Hey, what's going on? I am very weary with dentistry from an issue I had. I went and seen a dentist one time in North Kansas City, and the gentleman said I had 15 cavities. So I was kind of like, get myself psyched up to get it taken care of. I ended up moving out of the state to another state and went and seen a dentist. And when I went to him, he did all the x-rays. He came back and said I didn't have any cavities. So it made me think, what was the first guy going to do? Just drill holes in my mouth? It really made me weary.
So do you no longer go?
I didn't go to the guy here in Northtown, but when I moved out of state, I ended up going to a dentist.
All right, but do you go every 6 months and have a checkup, or are you just wary of dentists completely? Like, I get you. Dentists definitely try to sell you stuff. I think we all know that that's part of the business model now. But what about the file down your throat? Are you doing that for the lawsuit?
I'm definitely not doing that one. No, not at all.
He doesn't like the complications. All right, buddy. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's a good call. Here is John in Lewisburg on KCMO Talk Radio. Hi, John.
How you doing, Kevin?
Good,
My
buddy.
father's a dentist, and I still remember I was getting braces back in high school, and I had a cavity, and it was on one of my back molars. And my dad said, "You don't need any Novocaine." He goes, "There aren't a lot of nerves back there." He drilled into my molar to fill a cavity. I have no fear of dentists. And now I just, to hear people say, "I'm so scared to go to the dentist." Really? Come on. This man rebuilt all my front teeth after running into a kid's forehead, and rebuilt them, and they've lasted for 40 some odd years now.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you for the call. I think the best part about dental stories is the accidents that people have that cause them to go break a tooth. This front tooth of mine is a veneer. One of my front teeth, when I was 15 or something, I bit on a popsicle thing that was in a glass. We made them in the little frozen ice trays. We made our own little popsicles, and I was trying to bite it and just broke half my front tooth off.
I have maybe the most punk rock story. I was a singer in a band, and I went to headbang while singing and chipped my tooth on a microphone.
Always have a mic screen.
Yeah.
Always have the phone mic screen.
I know.
No, singers don't, though.
No.
Singers don't use mic screens. That's awesome. All right, we'll continue in just a moment. When we come back, we're going to talk to Mark a little bit about why Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge were not in the Home Run Derby contest and why wasn't Bobby Witt asked. That is next on KCMO. We are, as always, presented to you by bestofferkc.com, our friends in the real estate business. Whether it's an inherited house, a financial issue, a personal matter, health concerns, Best Offer KC can help you no matter what your situation is. Sometimes that means you don't even do business with Best Offer KC. They find a better option for you. How nice is that? These are great folks that really care for you and your family when it's time to sell a house quickly. A whole bunch, over 10% of these sales in Kansas City are not involved with realtors. There's no showings. There's no cleanup. There's no repair. You can just sell your house. And they don't think it's ugly. They think you're in a situation you need to sell your house quickly, and they want to help you out. It's bestofferkc.com. Think of them as your friend in the real estate business. Bestofferkc.com, 816-338-SOLD. That's 816-338-SOLD for bestofferkc.com, helping you leave the hassle behind.
Kevin Kietzman, Uncanceled. 10 to 11 a.m. on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Yesterday on the show, we were lamenting the fact that the American League lost the All-Star game and the best home run hitters were not in the swing-off at the end. This was a tie game, went to the after 9 innings. It was 3 batters from each league. We're going to get 3 swings at home runs, and they would add them up, and whatever the score would be, that's how they determine the winner. And Mark's guy is Cal Raleigh, the big dumper from Seattle, and he was not part of this. You've now learned why he was not part of it, right? Did you hear why?
Was it because he's a starter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if he'd stayed in the game, he could have. You could only use players that were in the lineup in the 9th inning. So Bobby Witt apparently thought I'm a shoo-in. Bobby Witt just assumed he was going to be one of the 3. And he said, Aaron Boone never asked me.
That's so lame.
I think he was shocked.
So New York, too.
He's like getting ready to go. He's like, I'm up. He knew Bobby Witt Jr. knew the rules going in. I think he thought, I'm probably going to be the shortstop at the end of the game since I'm not starting here tonight. He would have been perfect. He hit 50 home runs last year in the Derby, more than any other player, and finished second because the last round, the way it worked out. But he hit 50 bombs last year. How did the manager not know that?
It was just a terrible managing all the way around, from the 3rd inning all the way to the home run derby. It was a terrible managing job.
It was horrible. Bobby Witt Jr. was asked at the All-Star game. This didn't get much play in Kansas City. I think you're 4.5 out of the wild card, and there's a whole bunch of teams in front of you. Do you think you want your team to buy or sell? That's the term we use in July. Should you acquire players to get better or sell off some players to build for the future? That's the options for baseball teams right now. Bobby Witt's response was, quote, "We are never not going for it. Ever." That's what he said. Do you think when he signed that contract, they promised him that?
I bet it was said. He said, we're going to compete and we're going to keep going for it as long as you're here. I bet that's what they told him.
I think the owner looked him in the eye and says, we're not going to be sellers in July. If we're anywhere close, we're going to go for it every single year. You would want that assurance if you were Bobby Witt, wouldn't you?
Yeah. But at the same time, I think you can trade Estevez and still be a competitor. You've got Urseg, who can be a closer.
What would you trade Estevez for? A bag of balls?
I don't know. I just read today that the Dodgers are looking for a relief pitcher.
They can have him.
Yeah, I'm saying we could get something for him.
They can have him. I think that's pretty cool. Bobby Witt, after the All-Star break last year, was way better than before. He was insane after the All-Star break. If he does that, if he breaks out like from here going forward, if he's the best hitter in the American League, the Royals will have a shot.
Last July, there was only one game where he didn't get a hit.
That's unbelievable. So he literally heated up and got better. So we'll see what happens on that front. You know who Henry Winkler is, right?
Yeah,
The
big
actor?
Chiefs fan.
Henry Winkler's a big Chiefs fan. He's like sort of semi-buddies with Mahomes. What show was he on?
Oh, man. I know
It's
now. I
D-
totally
Dexter?
lost
Is he on Dexter? Is it something called, it's a crime thing or something? Not Dexter.
it was an old show.
John knows. Well, no, the old show's Happy Days. I
Happy
know that
Days.
one. I'm going to Happy Days.
Oh, there was a new.
Oh, yeah. No, it's the one Mahomes watches. That's what he knows him from.
Oh, okay.
He's like a serial killer or something. But it's a comedy kind of thing, or I don't know what Dexter, I don't know. Mark's looking it up. He'll find it. But this is the one that Mahomes knows. And that's why Henry Winkler is known today. But he's very famous, and a lot of this audience will remember him as Fonzie. And he was maybe he was maybe the biggest TV star in America at that point on Happy Days. Literally, the term jump the shark came from Henry Winkler, Fonzie, the character. Happy Days got so silly and weird at the end of its run that he rode a motorcycle in that show, and he was a cool guy with a leather jacket. And one year at the end of the season, they had him jump over a shark in a tank, and he wrecked, and it was like a cliffhanger for a sitcom to the next year. And that was when the show was just too much. They're like, you jump the shark. You don't ever do that. That's too much. What's the name of his current show?
Looks like Barry.
Barry. He is Barry, right?
Okay. It's HBO. I've never seen it.
Okay. So he's Barry, and that's why a lot of people know Henry Winkler now, a different generation of people. He is dyslexic, and he says that he's in the bottom 3% of intelligence in the United States. But he's hosting a new show. I got to see this on History Channel called Hazardous History. And it's explaining to Americans how much safer it is to be an American today than in the past. He says, well, one of the stories we did was about 7-Up being invented in 1927. They said, this will really pick you up and you'll feel great if you drink a 7-Up. It had lithium in it in 1927. But this one's the one that really blew me away. They've apparently done an episode. There was a time that the United States Postal Service, if you had a child that weighed less than 50 pounds, you could mail your child anywhere for 13 cents. What? Like, that's the original Uber.
Poke the holes in it.
He's serious. He says you could send it across town to Granny's or across the country for 13 cents. The post office will take care of your child if they're under 50 pounds. How do you do this? What's the starting age? I mean, you'd have to be at least 2, wouldn't you? You can't send some kid in diapers on a mail truck, can you?
No way.
We sit here and apologize all the time for the stupid things we've done in America. Is there anything dumber than at one point you could mail your child through the post office? The show is called Hazardous History on his History Channel with Henry Winkler. The Vince Show's coming up next. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled.